Thanks for joining us for another episode of So What's Next, a podcast that is produced by and sponsored by Next Level Studios and Medor Photography. Today, I am your host, Jeremy Medor, and I am sitting with
Kristen Smith.
And we are joined by...
My name is Allie Catlin. I'm owner of Smith's Country Cheese in Winchendon, Massachusetts.
What got you started? Like cheese? It's such a random thing to get into.
It's so random. I'm telling you, not even 10 years ago, I was the person shopping at the grocery store getting Cabot, American cheese,
Sure.
Kraft mac and cheese, never thought anything about it.
Right.
Long story short, in 2016, we bought Smith's Country Cheese, and we had heard previously that Dave Smith, who was the founder of the company, wanted to sell his business. He wanted to keep it a farm, and he had 3 kids who didn't want to continue in that trajectory, which I understand now in hindsight. So we had heard from some family that Smith's was up for sale, and we thought to ourselves, we love our jobs. We're really happy where we are. But
What were you doing?
I was managing karate schools.
Okay.
And my husband was in federal law enforcement in Boston.
Okay. You said schools, plural.
Yes. So I worked for this great man who ran several martial arts schools.
Okay.
And I knew nothing about martial arts. So this
Okay.
seems to be a pattern in my life. It's where I was pick up on things. Like, are you no experience? No.
Well,
not at all.
I think generally business, it's not that you can walk into any business and do whatever. It's more along the lines, if you are a high enough level thinker where you can kind of come in, get the general gist of how to do things, and then entrust people who know how to do them better than you and help steer them.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's kind of how it happened. I always loved working with my hands, and my husband did too. Yeah. Our jobs in college were related to farming in different ways. Okay. And so something just clicked when we heard about Smith's Country Cheese.
Sure.
And we Googled the phone number and said, Mr. Smith, you don't know us and we don't know you, but we're really interested in talking about maybe buying this place.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And
it
you
was
weren't
a scary
living
phone
here,
call.
right?
We were living in Billerica at the time.
Okay.
So we had renovated a multifamily. I was pregnant with our first child. So maybe it was the hormones that made us call. I don't
Nesting,
know.
yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
And he said, sure, you can come out and see the farm. I want you to see what the operation is like because it sounds cool on the whole of it, but it's more than that.
Right.
So we drove out to the farm and got to see the operation, and they had just about 200 cows. I had never even been near a cow before. And they
so
showed us
cool.
where they made the cheese, and we said, I think this is something we'd like to learn. And so he said, if you're really interested, one of you needs to meet me at 4 a.m. this weekend, and we'll see if you really like it. So my husband got that job.
Excellent.
Yeah, I said, I think you're the better person
That
for
was
this.
a good choice by him.
4 a.m. for the milking?
4 a.m. for the milking.
Yeah.
So we still continue with that. We milk at 4 a.m. and 4 p.m. every day.
Wow.
And so he went down in the pitch black, and he had to get in one of the skid steers, which is one of those little, tractors that you use to scoop feed.
Little bobcats, yep.
Yep. And he made himself sick. He literally got sick, motion sickness, because
Yeah.
he didn't know how to drive it.
No, those things are dizzying.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he got through it, but
They're
it's very
fun.
eye-opening. Very fun. Yeah, they're fun
When you
now.
get to- yes.
Yes. And so it just progressed into training. So we kind of became apprentices of him. And nothing was formalized, but for a year and a half, while we were working with our attorneys and talking about pricing and everything, we would go on our off days and make cheese.
Okay.
So I had every Friday off, and I made cheese, and we didn't really talk about it because we didn't want to lose our jobs.
Sure.
Yeah.
And so if I got a phone call from my boss, I'd have to sneak out of the cheese room and, answer questions.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So it was a transition.
It was a big transition.
No cold turkey.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. Year and a half of either Fridays or the weekends, kind of jumping into it.
Wow.
And then came the time where things were getting really close to the closing date, and I was the first one to leave my job. So my husband had a very solid, stable federal job. So we said, we'll just stick with that for now. Okay. I left my work at the karate school, and my boss was really understanding. made me these hats that said cheese farmer because he
Nice.
just kept
that's
making
so
fun of me
cute.
saying,
Sure.
okay, cheese farmer. And I moved into the Smith's old house with my then 1-year-old daughter, and we were sleeping on a mattress in their old living room, and sent her to daycare, and I would make cheese all day. And there were definitely some mornings where I called my husband crying, just saying, I don't know if we're making the right choice.
I was just going to ask that if there was a point that you were like,
And
I want
regrets.
to go back.
a lot of those
Yeah,
moments.
I would think.
Yeah, because we were really stuck between this is our time to kind of jump in and take a risk because life is short. Jake
Yeah.
lost his dad at a really young age, and so he's always embraced that concept
Sure.
of life short. We can figure it out.
Sure.
And I was more nervous about that. So yeah, there were a lot of moments of doubting what we were doing, but we stuck with it. And the sale did go through, and my husband left his job, and we officially moved in and sold our house, and we just had to hit the ground running.
Yeah, it's
and
a leap of faith.
Yeah. I still remember the first morning we woke up as owners, like we had signed papers
Sure.
the day before,
Yeah.
and everything felt different.
You're
know?
like, what is this?
Yeah, it was the same as the day before, but we were officially owners. And my husband went down to the farm for 4 a.m. and Dave Smith was there too because he wanted to make sure everything was okay, and that was really nice.
That's very sweet.
It was his first day of retirement, and he was there.
That-
So
I can only imagine how surreal that was for him.
yeah.
Because how long had he been doing it?
He started, in the 60s.
Okay. All right.
So that was,
So 40, 50.
yeah, I mean, that was
55
his
years-ish.
whole life. Yeah, he
Yeah.
went to school for that and really, really created a wonderful foundation for us.
And how long ago did you sign papers on this?
2016.
Okay,
So almost
all right.
8 years
Yep.
in November.
November 2016.
Yep.
Something about November. November 1st, 12 years ago was my
it?
start of being self-employed.
Wow.
Yeah,
You never forget
the
it.
plunge. No, you don't. You don't. You don't forget the feeling either.
Mm-hmm.
There are so many conflicting thoughts that enter through your mind.
Yeah.
I know that when I went self-employed, I won't belabor it, but I basically gave my wife a panic attack by saying I quit my job today, but I hadn't. I wanted to see her like off the cuff reaction, and she goes, "Oh, okay," and I'm like,
Okay.
and so when that whole thing transpired, I put my notice in, so on and so forth. But that first day of self-employed, there was that sense of like accomplishment and freedom, and then, oh crap, what did I just
right.
do?
Oh, I still have to buy dinner.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
And then you see the bank account, that seed money
Oh
that
my
you
gosh.
used, right? And then it starts slowly going down, go down, and then you start doubting yourself, right? And then that whole that becomes potentially toxic a little bit because that doubt undermines any confidence that you might have in regards to propelling your business forward.
Oh my
right?
gosh, you couldn't have worded it better.
So
You're like, yes, that.
Yes, check,
that.
check.
Yes, yes.
I still remember, so we had bought it in November, and at that time you needed to prep the store for the holidays. And so the Smiths at that time had carried the line of Yankee candles in their store, and they were kind of known for it. And I'm like, I need to order holiday Yankee candles. So I put $3,000 worth of candles on my personal credit card. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I've never even spent that much money at one time.
Right.
And now it almost felt like Monopoly money.
Yeah.
You know?
You were like, what
And
am I
you see,
doing?
Yeah, you see your bank account that you worked so hard to build up. It's just going down, down, down. I'm like, I hope I sell these candles.
yeah.
And did you?
We did. My brother came out and he helped me stock them, and we did end up selling them. But
Excellent.
you just never know when
You
when
don't.
you hit
You don't.
submit on payment.
No, you don't.
Scary.
You have the word of Mr. Smith to go by. That,
Right.
Right. So you have his confidence, right?
Yeah.
But you don't know, as you and your husband as new owners, whether or not that old word will continue to exist now that it's under new management.
Right.
Is there a fear there with a local community? How did you get past some of those things? And did you encounter those things?
We did. We did more than we expected. Everyone was very welcoming and excited that Smith's was going to stay the business it was, but we had so many customers coming in and saying, oh, I heard Smith's was closing. We didn't have as much inventory in the store at the time.
Sure.
So they were asking if we were going out of business and how it was with the transition. And I don't want to say condescending because everyone was really positive and welcoming, but
Sure.
there was a little air of that at first. You know,
Doubt,
like
maybe?
you guys, you're young kids coming in, you
Sure.
don't know how to dairy farm.
Yeah.
And so I think we absorbed that more because maybe we were feeling it
Internalized
internally anyway.
Yeah. How'd you deal with that? How did you cope with that?
I think exercising.
Okay.
And just talking. I realized more and more how much my husband and I became closer in that time because your family is always there for you, but nobody else is really in the trenches
No,
Right.
for sure.
of
The
that
day-to-day.
day to day. And suddenly being managers and owners, I had always had bosses. So
Yeah.
I never thought I would be a boss.
Yeah. Mhm.
And I was really uncomfortable with that, telling people what to do when I was learning from them still.
Sure.
You know, hey, I know I'm signing your paycheck, but can you tell me how to run my business too?
Right.
How many people did you have that came forward with you?
We had 3 at the cheese shop.
Yep.
We did not have a head cheesemaker. He had left before we bought the farm, so that was our big job, is my husband and I were doing. So 3 folks at the shop, and then we had 3 at the farm.
Okay.
Yep. So we did a lot of hands-on work, which in the end was worth it because that's how we learned the business and what we could change and couldn't change.
Right.
But it was a lot up front because it's 10, 12-hour days in the cheese room each day. So it's hard to manage a business when you're there.
Yes.
You know,
Making
Yeah, no,
you
it's-
can't be on your phone. Your
When you're
hands
in the
need
weeds,
to be clean.
when you're in the trenches and in the weeds, you can't really steer it very,
Right.
very well.
Right.
Right. You have to have some form of periscope
Yeah.
or something, right? How did you get there?
For several years, it was a lot of the same thing, and just trying to improve the quality of the cheese. Not
Yep.
that it was bad, but Dave Smith admittedly said, you know, I remember him saying, "I'm a dinosaur. I don't want to do advertising," or there were a lot of new requirements with the FDA and food safety.
Yeah.
And he said, "You're going to need to do these things, but part of why I'm retiring is I don't want to do that."
Got it.
So we focused a lot of behind the scenes in terms of quality and food safety and getting up to standards with the way the plant was run.
Yep.
And then finally we were able to hire a cheesemaker, and that was truly life-changing. One of the things you have to do really early in the morning when you make cheese is spray out the big tanker that the milk comes in. And you're up climbing the ladder and spraying it out, and it's cold and your hands are sticking to the ladder. And I was at the time, I remember one morning, I think 8 months pregnant.
Oh my God.
Nobody else was there to make cheese, so you have to do it.
Allie.
And I'm thinking to myself, what am I doing?
Allie.
You know, yeah. And so when we finally hired a cheesemaker, it was amazing.
Yeah.
And I never want to forget how valued our team is, especially the cheesemakers,
Yeah.
because
Right, yeah,
it affects your whole life if you're in there all day.
Right.
And we enjoy making cheese, don't get me wrong, but
There's aspects
as
of
an
the
owner,
job.
yes, as a
Yeah.
business owner, it's very hard to grow your business when you got your hands in the curds.
Yeah.
Yep.
Literally.
Yeah. No, I can respect that. I can respect that.
Thanks.
I didn't deal with curds, but I dealt with other things, right? And that's why you have people to help allow you to get out of those trenches long enough to see the direction that you need to go
Exactly.
in and lead your team to a better place, right? So you started with, you said 6, so 3 and 3,
Yes.
and you're at what?
So now we're at 16 at
Wow.
the shop.
Fantastic.
Yes, and we're at 6 at the farm.
Oh my goodness! So you're all together 22 plus you and your husband.
Yeah, and then my brother and sister-in-law are part owners with us too.
Yep.
So they moved up from Atlanta, Georgia when we bought the farm to
Okay.
help, and they are very hands-on as well.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Amazing. Wow.
Yeah.
So this is really a family-run business.
Yes.
I'm guessing that your employees have become like family,
Yes.
Absolutely.
especially
Yes.
the long-term individuals.
Oh, they're amazing.
Yeah.
We couldn't do what we do without them. And I try to never forget that, send them a text at the end of the day. Hey, didn't see you much today, but I saw you there at
saw
6
you.
a.m.
Yep.
I know what you did and thank you.
Yeah, I see what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's important when you took it over to show that you weren't afraid to get your hands dirty.
Right.
You were doing the things, and that's probably what Dave saw in you too. Like he knew that
Yeah.
you'd be full on,
Right.
in
Not
it.
afraid to do. Even now, I want to be one cleaning the bathrooms or helping pack an order. And as my husband yells at me sometimes because I want so badly for my team to know that I don't see myself as higher than them.
Right.
Because I just never thought I would be in that management position. But again, there is, we have them there for a reason so that they can do that work so we can focus on other things. But it is, I'm always aware of it.
Yeah. Can you kind of take us through like I know you're talking about the shop and the cheese making. Can you kind of bring us like kind of on a little journey on what the farm looks like visually? Because I think a lot of people probably don't know.
Yeah. So we're in Winchendon, Mass, and we're on this very rural road. When you pull into our shop, you'll see a big building, and it's covered in solar panels. Dave Smith was very adamant about using as much regenerative energy as we could, and we're sticking with that. So we're covered with solar panels, which really helps with hot water and electrical needs with cheese making. And you can look into a bunch of big windows when you pull up into the cheese room. So you can see how we make the cheese, which is nice. There are 2 bright red double doors that take you into our gift shop in the same section. And so that is where we sell cheese, we sell local wine and beer and all these fun local items. And then within that building is where we're packaging everything too. So there's a lot going on behind the scenes just because you can't always have the public into those very sterile rooms. But there's a lot going on to fulfill orders and get the cheese out the door. And then just behind that, we have what we call our butter trailer. And it's a retrofitted trailer that is a micro dairy, and that's where we pasteurize for our butter and bottle milk. Just behind that, you can look out the window of the butter trailer and see cows in the field, which is really cool. So we have just about 200 Holsteins, those black and white cows, and all of their barns are behind the shop. And we also make a lot of compost there. So the farm itself is producing the milk we need and also using the manure to make compost.
Fantastic. So there's a whole economy, a microeconomy right inside your farm.
Yes.
So what are you doing? Did you start with 200 head and you still have 200 head?
Yeah, we were right. We've kept about the same number.
Okay.
Gone up and down a little bit.
And is that an intentional or is it due to land constraints? Where are you guys at with that?
A lot of it is to try to balance. We use about 50% to make cheese, and we're trying to balance what we have left over to sell to a co-op. And what you get for the price of fluid milk is not that high. But it's a constant balance between what you're getting paid for the milk and how much your feed costs and how many employees you can keep on with the amount of cows. So that number of 200 has worked for us in terms of keeping our team employed and having enough for cheese. And
it's a predictable balance.
Yes. Okay. So the price of milk has fluctuated, which is why we may sell some cows or breed more cows. But 200 has been the sweet spot for us.
Right. Now, do you breed your own cattle as a rule?
Yes. Okay. I don't.
That was
another item I didn't want to add to my resume.
That wasn't quite the question. But you as a business,
we do.
Okay.
Yes, right. We do.
And do you see yourself in a situation where that would become an income producer where you breed and sell?
Possibly. Yeah, the price of beef, for lack of a better term, is up right now. So that's always something. And we have seen a lot more interest in the beef that we sell at our store. So we've talked a lot about maybe breeding more for food.
Yep.
Do you sell your own beef?
We do.
You do?
Yes. But just a minimal amount.
Yeah.
We get them processed at a local farm and sell them in the store. But there's a lot of interest in that. So that may be a new avenue for us.
Right.
Now, how much? Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
How much milk does that produce? Like in any given day, like how much, like visually or like poundage wise?
Yeah. So
gallons.
Oh gosh, we do everything in pounds. So
okay, all right. So
we may have to do the math later.
7.5 pounds to a gallon, I think. Something in that.
Yeah, it's close to like 8-ish. And when we make cheese, we usually use about 11,000 pounds of milk.
Okay.
And we only use about half the milk we make for cheese. So we're making a lot of milk.
So every day you do that? You make cheese every day?
We make cheese 3 to 4 times a week now.
Okay.
It was a lot less when we first bought the business.
Yeah.
And so what's left over is stored in this cooling tank, and a company picks it up every other day. And that's where it goes to Hood and Gorelick Farms, and it's part of a cooperative.
Oh, okay.
So you are the first consumer of what you yield from the cows.
Yes.
And then whatever is remaining goes to the co-op.
Yes.
All right, wonderful.
So the more that we can use to make a value-added product, the better, because you're not getting a lot for the fluid milk.
Right, but it also doesn't go to waste.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, you don't want that.
So it's a win-win situation then.
Yeah.
What is your primary source of traffic for your for the sales? Is it mostly wholesale, retail? How do you guys?
Mostly wholesale.
Okay.
Yes. We do have a good following that come into the store and come to farmers markets that we attend, but primarily we're a wholesale business. So we're shipping to restaurants, schools, small farm shops, and wineries.
Regionally?
Actually, we're in almost every state now.
Amazing.
We don't ship to Alaska just because of logistical issues.
For sure.
But yeah, we ship all over.
Does your store handle that shipping and receiving, or do you go through a supplier?
It took a lot of trial and error, but we ship through UPS for the most part. And we've done so many trial runs with insulated boxes.
Yeah, this is all cold pack kind of stuff. Yeah.
So we ship a handful of boxes to Jake's grandmother the first year, just saying, what was the temperature of the cheese when you got it?
Sure.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
and
It's like it's like Tom Hanks in Castaway with the clock.
right? Exactly. And we just had to see what was the best method, and we got it down. So that's
awesome.
very reassuring now.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah,
That's
thank
fantastic.
you.
That's really impressive.
Was Dave shipping prior?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. They had a different system that confused me, which isn't always difficult. But they had a few different shippers and had kind of different methods based on the season.
Right.
And
But you were seeking
it worked for them, but
you were seeking to streamline something that just made more sense.
exactly.
To you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Wonderful. What has been your largest curveball, other than obviously going from not knowing cheese to learning cheese? Outside of that, what has been your largest curveball?
I think, we have 3 kids now,
Yeah.
which
And what are the ages?
just adds to the fun. 9, 7, and 3.
Okay.
And my brother and sister-in-law have 2 kids. So I think the biggest curveball has been you need to make sure both the business and the children don't lose out, but that they both get attention.
Right.
And how do you kids always come first, don't get me wrong, but if a burglary alarm is going off when you're heading to soccer practice, you got to figure that out or something like that.
Right.
If one of the condenser units to cool the milk is down, you might have to eat dinner by the milk tank.
Yeah, and that's true. That's true. So it's hard as a business owner, and you and I are going to sympathize with each other real quick here. It's hard as a business owner to say something like the family comes first, but right. So there's that but. So here's the thing. It's a priority queue. Mm-hmm. And if you have to squash a bug, you got to squash a bug. And if that's a bug with, your kid's homework, that becomes your highest priority, right?
Yeah.
And I think that at the end of the day, priority queue, nothing trumps the kids. Mm-hmm. However, you also have to be considerate of the lifeblood of your business, allowing for your children to be raised, right?
Exactly.
And so there's that both and kind of situation.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a fickle balance.
It is.
It is.
Yeah, and you feel like whoever is getting your attention in that moment, the other side's losing out. So that has been the biggest curveball, I think.
Constant state of regret all the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. No, it's
You understand.
Oh, very much, very much. Yeah, and the hard part though is that you can't let those set of facts get in the way of your decision making to the point where it gridlocks you, right? Because if you treat it strictly emotionally, or you're falling into this state of despair, because you can very easily head there, especially if you're thinking to yourself, or you feel for a moment that no matter what you do, someone's going to lose.
Yes.
You're always on this, what's the best worst case scenario that I come up with, right?
It always feels like a crisis management
right,
almost.
lesser of two evil kind of approach. And that's, I talk about that as being a firefighter, right? You're constantly putting out fires, right? Versus steering the ship, right? And so getting to a state of steering the ship is definitely the best thing that you can possibly do as a business owner. And it sounds to me like, because of the amount of personnel that you guys have and how you're speaking very highly of them, you've gotten to the point where your crisis management is really like high level challenges that you're having, not like low level petty things.
Right.
Yeah.
And that took a long time to get there. It was never a trust issue that I didn't think the team could handle. It was more me letting go and delegating and thinking that by
that's
delegating.
a different kind of trust.
That sounds familiar.
Right? I think everyone feels that in some way.
Yeah.
Like if I'm asking you to do it and I'm not doing it, does that mean that I'm not working as hard or I'm lazy?
Yep.
And that's always been this recurring thing that I've worked on, Yeah.
Yeah. I feel so useless when I come into the office. So
That's good,
Quite
though.
frankly.
Yeah.
But it almost feels like an imposter kind of thing where I'll walk in and I'll be like, hey, does anybody need help with anything? And they're like, nope, we're all set. I'm like,
Please give me something.
it makes me feel valued and valuable, you know.
I'll clean the bathrooms.
But on the same token, like I'm not, you know, I don't want to exist, or rather, my degree of fulfillment should not be attached by how much my employees need me, but more along the lines of how little they need me.
That might be my next tattoo. I like that.
That's it.
Yeah.
So I've started turning toward people development and not business development. I mean, the business development, of course, is crucial to get that to scale, et cetera. But at the end of the day, if you're not developing the people that are in the business, no amount of business development that you do is going to propel you far enough forward where your employees are magically keeping up. Yeah. That's not how it works. You work on the people that are working in your business, and all of a sudden, magically, the business grows because they're all more, they're advocating for themselves. They are helping steer that ship. They're calling things out as needed. And they're telling you what they need because they're advocating. Yeah. Right. And that's the important part. See something, say something kind of thing, to borrow a term from my wife. You know, so it's a hard balance to strike.
Yeah. I think on the flip side too, obviously I'm not a business owner, but like being a single mom, I kind of see that.
Oh, there's parallels.
Like, there's very, like, you know, like my time was split. Like I had to work, you know, to provide. But now that my kids are grown, and I mean, obviously your kids are a little bit younger, but now that they're grown, they see that too. Like just as your employees see it, like your kids see that. Yeah. At the end of the day, they're going to be like, you know, when they get older, like, wow, like you did a lot for us. Like you balanced a lot. Yeah. My kids say that all the time. Like, wow, you know, now that they're like getting to be adults and having jobs, and like, that's a long day. Like Olivia, my daughter, she's in grad school right now, but she's like, it's a lot to work all day and then come home and have to make your own dinner. She's like, I don't know how you did that all, you know, like, so it's gratifying too. At the end of the day, you know.
Thanks for that, because we haven't gotten
we're not quite there yet.
Although our oldest, Samantha,
that's my daughter's name.
Okay. All right. So our oldest, she has a job while also going to school. She's in her senior year of high school, and she's trying to balance the social life on top of all of that. And you know, we're trying to cut her some slack by picking up some of the things that she would normally be responsible for at the house and stuff. And she's been showing a larger level of appreciation for our involvement in that side of life, and realizing the value that small but mighty value that it has for her. And so that's been really, you know, a pat on the back.
Absolutely.
Not necessarily intentionally given, just more of one of those observational facts that they just pop up with. Yeah. And you're like, oh yeah. You know, so like as parents, we get to appreciate it from a different perspective than what it's meant as, maybe from the child. Right. And that's okay. Yeah. Because they mean it on their terms and we receive it on our terms, et cetera, that kind of thing. Yeah. So.
Yeah. So that I definitely think they're watching. They're seeing what's happening. Yeah. And you guys are working hard and making it happen. So.
Yeah.
Do your kids help on the farm?
They do. My two girls, 9 and 7, they help a lot in the store. And they're very proud. They can ring up customers and really working on eye contact and greeting people.
That's huge.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
Yeah, counting back change. Yeah, like, you know, okay, you gave me a 20. Here's your change.
Oof, that's one for the books today.
I know.
Yeah,
I know. And you notice it. They notice it now if it doesn't happen when we're out. So that's cool. Yep. My son is 3. He loves to go down with my husband in the morning to sit in the tractor. Yeah. And he'll learn his keep soon enough.
I'm getting the vibe that you homeschool.
We don't.
You don't?
Oh, gosh, no. I am not patient enough to do that.
Fair enough.
God bless all the homeschooling parents. But my girls are in public school in town, and my son goes to preschool. Okay. Yes.
All right. Yeah. So there's a bit of a balance there where they're not around all the time.
Yes, that's very helpful.
It allows you to be plugged in full time for business during those moments. School. That's good. That's good.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
What's your husband's role on the property?
He does a lot. He manages the farm orders all the feed and coordinates things I don't even really know about, to be honest. I don't do much down with the cows. And at the shop, he made cheese for a long time too, and we work together to kind of talk about the trajectory of the cheese side of things. Mm-hmm. But in terms of working with the vet and the nutritionist for the cows, that's all him.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
Now, alongside of the shop, I've noticed just being around online that you guys are doing a ton of like kind of co-ops with people, like, you know, like with Zen Yoga, they'll do the cow yoga, and like I love that you're really incorporating like
yes,
that's fantastic.
Yeah, so Tamea does that.
Okay.
Yeah, we just had Tamea on last week.
That sounds correct. Okay, that's good.
Yeah,
Hi,
we love Tamea too.
Yeah.
We love Tamea.
We just had her on the podcast last week, but you know, like just from I live in Westminster, so just from checking out local businesses and obviously Alyssa working there, you know, I'm on your socials, and I love that you just incorporate your workers into, you know, fun videos or dancing. Like, I think that shows that you're up on the times too. You know, farming has obviously gone way back, but you're making it modernized and fun, you know, which is really cool.
Thanks.
I'm guessing that the core systems don't change. Right. But how you present yourself and how you manage, and of course there's like regulations and such that do change. Right. But at its core, the business of farming or the art of farming has not necessarily deviated a heck of a lot.
Right.
Although it's become more corporatized.
Yes.
From a oversight standpoint and involvement standpoint.
Yes. When we first bought the farm, I don't know how many dairy farms there were in Massachusetts. I would say around 100, maybe a little more. And
now
they're dropping. I don't know the number today, but I would imagine it's 50, maybe under 50.
What would you attribute that to? I mean, I don't want to get into the negative weeds necessarily, but I'm just trying to, what has allowed you the growth that you've experienced while others are shrinking?
Making more value-added products, so adding new cheeses. We now do butter and bottled milk. That's really helped a lot.
Diversification?
Yes. Branching out in terms of new platforms to sell your cheese. We do a lot more online sales.
E-commerce?
Yes, that's really helped us. And the compost side of things with the farm, we got certified organic and tested for forever chemicals and things folks don't want in the soil they plant their food in.
Oh, yeah.
And we take that really seriously. So we've had folks, even from the Cape, come and pick up loads of compost. So both ends of the business, we've really tried to think about what do people value in their food system, and how can we make that at a reasonable price.
Yep. Okay. All right. Now, for the compost that you guys produce at your farm, you obviously sell it by the yard, I'm guessing?
Yep, by the yard and bags.
Okay, all right. So you have them prepackaged?
Yes.
Ready to go? Fantastic, wonderful.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
And it's good stuff. Black gold, we call it.
For sure, because it's just a byproduct of your animals living there.
Right.
I'm guessing that, is that a seasonal thing that happens?
We make it all year.
Right.
And
because they don't hold it till spring.
Never stop. They never stop. Obviously, in the spring, that's our big season to sell it and deliver it.
And such.
We've seen an uptick in fall customers who want to dress their beds for the next year and indoor growth. So that's helped a lot.
Yep.
But yeah, we were making it all year to have enough for the spring.
All right. Do you try to also do that wholesale, or is that strictly a retail operation?
Yes. Yep. That's a new avenue for us in the past few years is wholesale. So we're in some garden centers. There's this cool garden club on the Cape where we go and we just take a dump truck and dump a whole dump truck full of bags, and the garden club members come and pick it up. So we're all about that.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Wow, Allie, that's a really broad range of offerings from one place that you wouldn't think is so multifaceted. Maybe you know, when I hear Smith's Country Cheese or just cheese in general, I'm like, oh,
cheese.
Lots of cheese. That's it, right? But you're not looking at that. You're looking at the whole ecosystem that's attached to it, right?
Yes, and we have Dave Smith to thank for that. He created that whole cycle, and we just have tried to modernize it a bit.
Yep.
So we have him to thank.
Are there any untapped areas that you're looking into right now?
Yes, ice cream.
Ice cream.
Oh.
Okay. Yep.
That is my dream.
Okay.
Few hoops to go through.
Again, retail or wholesale? Both.
I would, yeah.
Who wouldn't want to have ice cream?
Right. What I picture is we have really beautiful land. We have about 47 acres, and
Yeah.
a lot of it is untouched, which
I was
is beautiful in itself.
Gonna ask. Okay.
Yes,
All right.
but we would love to open it up for more pasture.
Yep.
And just a space for families to come and have really good ice cream and
That
be
sounds
safe
amazing.
and hang out, and their kids can play. And we love ice cream at our house, so we don't want to even start to tap into that until we can make the best ice cream, best flavors,
Absolutely.
homemade waffle cones, like the whole
Nothing worse than a half lunch product.
right.
Yeah.
Yes. So that is my goal.
That sounds pretty amazing.
Yeah,
I think it's the
thanks.
perfect addition to.
So we have customers. So Medor Photography was the original company that I created. My wife and I created in November 12 years ago.
Yeah.
And Next Level Studios has only been around for just over a year and a half.
Yep.
And it was kind of a brainchild of the logical extension of what we weren't doing with Medor Photography, which was commercial work.
Yeah.
So Medor Photography primarily is for real estate centric, MLS listings to advertise homes for sale, et cetera, right? And it also supports the agents insofar as like doing commercial work for them for their purposes. But beyond that, we weren't reaching much else other than realtors and homeowners. And what we wanted to do is turn on the switch of eventually what would now become Next Level Studios. But it took a long time to get to that part, just like the journey that you're embarking on for the ice cream.
Right.
And a lot of people would come up to me like, "Hey, I got an idea," and I'm like, "It's already in my brain." But the reason why it's still living in my brain is because I haven't turned it around in my brain enough, or talked about it with people enough to the point where it's now a well-formed proof of concept that would eventually turn into a product. And that level of perfection, that level of polish. I'm not even going to say perfection. I think that that's just a misnomer. That level of polish that you have to give an idea in order for it to become reality.
Yes.
It takes a number of months, years, decades,
Yes, it
depending
does.
on how big it is or how important it is to you. And so a lot of times we'll be introduced to a concept or a product by one of our clients and be like, "Hey, can you guys do this?" I'm like, "Yeah, we can." Do I want to? Do I have the resources to? Do I desire that product to be internalized? Do I identify with it enough? Does it embody our values? There's a lot of things that you got to go through
Right.
before just saying yes to any given idea.
Sure.
So are you on this journey for ice cream? All that to say, are you on that journey?
We really haven't taken any solid steps yet.
Okay.
My husband and I have talked a lot about it and are in agreement that that would be the right move for our farm.
What is the debilitating factor right now?
Mostly funding and I think time, just finding the time to really.
Can't just create it?
Yeah. We would need to figure out how to get enough cream. So you need equipment for that, enough cream to make it. We would need a building to process it and sell out of.
Yep.
Work with the town on things like that. So I think those are kind of the hurdles at this moment.
Okay, so infrastructure primarily
Yeah.
is the hurdle, and of course the capital attached to that.
Yes.
From an agricultural standpoint, are there systems in place that are pro farmer, or is it just a race to the
yeah.
bottom?
Oh, there are a lot of grant programs through the state and through the federal government. And, I can tell you just the town and the state alone have been very supportive of
Okay,
how can we work with you to keep a working dairy farm going in the state.
that's beautiful.
So that's wonderful. And agritourism, you see other companies like Red Apple Farm. That's a big part of how they survive is folks coming to visit. And we love when people come to visit now, but we don't have anything more than the cows to see right now. So
Yeah.
it would be nice to have ice cream and maybe some live music,
Sure.
just family friendly.
Yeah, like a destination.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah, I can get that. However, there is a wrong way of going about it. And if I can share anecdotally what I've observed is the
Yeah.
wrong way.
Yeah.
Not that my word is gold or anything like that, but I grew up in Maine, and just one town over from us, there was an orchard called Wallingford's Orchards. And it's still called Wallingford's, but it got taken over by another orchard farm called Ricker Hill. and Ricker Hill is 2 towns over. So like they're all in the same neck of the woods, right? And this is all apple orchard, acres upon acres, hundreds upon hundreds of acres of apple orchard, and really good, well-maintained trees, et cetera, that kind of thing. So growing up, we had beautiful experiences apple picking as a family.
Yeah.
When we moved back to Maine, I thought to myself, hey, how cool would it be if we went apple picking again as a family with my kids, right? Mm-hmm. Brought them there, not the same experience.
Really?
And what they ended up doing was they eventized it to the point where they made it such a tourist attraction that it detracted from the experience of apple picking, because everything was nickeled and dimed, right?
Yep.
The tractor rides were still free because they had to have them to get to the orchard because of how much space they took up for the goats and the petting zoo. And you have to pay to feed the goats, of course, because, that feed costs way less than what you're paying for that quarter, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And so that's crazy. Now a profit center. Their apple cider donuts, I'm not even joking. You have 100 people deep in line waiting for them. Wow. Sounds great, right? From an economic standpoint.
Yeah, but it's not the farm feel.
It's not, right? So it detracts from the original intent that the owners of Wallingfors had way back, right? And so it's turned into something that it probably ought not to be.
Yeah.
And I'm concerned about the danger that actually poses for the industry in general if that is now the field that we're putting forward. It's kind of like the social media effect, right? If there's always perfection and there's never any mistakes, because that's what we don't put up on social media, what are we doing for our future as business owners as well as those who come after us, our children or our future competitors or whatever, if we're having this constant environment where perfection is the only accepted thing.
Yeah.
And so likewise with the event spaces and the tourism spaces, we have to have a both and kind of approach, because otherwise we're not going to foster the industry long term.
Yeah. I'm right there with you. Another factor that we always think about is we live right there.
Yeah.
We live on the farm.
Yeah, you don't want too much going on.
Yeah, so even if we have a food truck here and there, it does affect our day personally. You feel very mindful of your neighbors and your children. So I do get what you're saying with, wanting to bring people in and supporting local agriculture, but also preserving that really timeless space of that farm life and folks wanting to see that.
Yep. Now, question I think that would for a stopover between the now and the eventual ice cream stand, because it's in the future. I'm just going to say it.
We're going to breathe it into existence.
Right, exactly. Is there an intermediate where you're vending your raw milk or your processed milk to someone who is interested in taking on the baton of ice cream creation, who then partners with you and sells it primarily or at a specific rate to you guys that you then vend it through the store?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Right. And does that exist currently, or is there not a system in place?
Other farms do that. Yes, we don't right now, but it's certainly an option.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is that something that you would have to network for and find the right people?
Yes.
All right. So we're putting it out there to the social media world. If you guys know of anybody who is interested or already has the systems in place for ice cream processing and would like to establish a vendor relationship with Smith's Country Farm, you know how to get a hold of them.
Yes.
So reach out. That's it. So that's my little plug.
Thank you.
For you. So we kind of already talked a little bit about we talked a lot about how you got here, why you got here. Other than the ice cream, what's next for Smith Country Farm? What's on the horizon?
It's funny, we had a festival, a very tiny cheese festival at our farm a few years ago where we just brought in local vendors. And this customer came up and he said, I'm really happy that you're the new owners. It seems like you're doing really well. You should just keep on this path of doing dairy and doing it well. And it stuck with me. Like, we don't need to go do a million other things or make beer or all these trendy things. So we've always said that we want to do dairy and do it well. So we were given this wonderful opportunity, and some things we talk about in that vein are more pasture land. We're not primarily grass-fed. That's a goal. We're not certified organic with our cheese. That's a goal. So
why?
The cost of feed, the regulations, it would really increase some pricing avenues, like in terms of what our cheese costs, and we don't want to price out the folks in our own town. So things like that we're interested in.
That's a hard line to hold.
Right. Because there's a lot of folks who want raw milk cheese that's grass-fed and organic, and I completely understand that.
And you're not
and
that.
so we're not that, but there's so many benefits to the cheese that we make, and you can come see the animals and how well they're cared for, and a lot of health benefits to raw milk cheese. So those are some things that we're thinking about, and how can we do that and continue doing dairy well. Yeah.
In order to achieve grass-fed cows, do you need to acquire more land, or do you already have sufficient?
We have enough land. It's not cleared though.
Okay.
So we would need to work on that, and
Got it.
always weighing what is the cost to implement all these new things, and will it sell?
Are you a tree farm as well, or is that just
No.
okay? All right. So the land that needs clearing, is it old growth, new growth? Is it just
It's mostly old growth, I think. Yeah, I haven't even
There's another one
explored
for you
a
guys
lot
out
of
there.
it. Yeah, there's so much that we haven't even set foot on.
Yep.
It's a lot of land.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So just because of other connections that I've established over the years, there's a place in Winchendon called Winwood Sawmill.
Yes.
Okay. You know.
I've driven by it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Reach out to them and see if there's selective cutting that is in your future.
Yeah.
Especially the old growth trees. There's a lot of benefits to the quality of wood that's there.
Yep.
And they could in fact be, selectively cut to partially clear and allow for grazing. I don't know enough about what your needs are, obviously, but the truth of the matter is that there are options out there if you're looking to pursue them.
It's all about the community connections and relationships you create. It's amazing how many people we've met who we have received help from.
Yep. Andreas is his name at Winwood.
At Winwood. Okay.
I worked with him for a short time when we were trying to create another company that we didn't go very far with. It was just kind of a splash in the pan kind of approach, but we were doing some woodworking items and stuff.
Oh, cool.
I had established a relationship with him, and he's such a wealth of knowledge when it comes to like everything arborist related. So he's a licensed arborist, and he went to school for agriculture and everything. And so he's got a very large depth of appreciation and understanding for trees.
Very cool. I would love to meet him.
Just throwing it out there. So
yeah, thank you.
But yeah, that's great. So what are you mentioned your in-laws, brother-in-law, you said?
My brother-in-law and his wife, my sister-in-law. Yep. Yeah.
What are their roles?
So Mike, my brother-in-law, he's mostly down at the farm. So he deals with the cows and breeding. He and my husband take turns doing the morning chores, as we call them. So feeding the cows, cleaning their beds. So he's right there in the grind most mornings. And he helps with cheese sometimes too. My sister-in-law, Leah, is mostly at the shop with me. She makes all of our butter. Award-winning now. We just won a gold medal at the Big E for our butter.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome.
So that's all props to her.
Yep.
And we share the brunt of paperwork, invoicing things and shipping, things like that.
The necessary evils of business operations.
Yes.
Yeah. The stuff that nobody likes to see, but are necessary.
Right. Yeah. But they, again, moved up from Atlanta when we first bought the farm. So that was a real gift having them come, because it's a true family operation.
Were they part of the purchase from a partnership
not initially.
standpoint? Okay.
No, they are now.
They are now.
Yes.
Okay.
So Jake and I originally bought it.
All right. And they live locally?
They live in Ashburnham.
Okay. All right. So not too
not
far away.
Not too far.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's good.
Yeah.
So you guys are always on call, I'm guessing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Living there definitely brings with it good and bad sides of always being available.
Sure. For sure. I get that very much.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that you experience live cow births as well.
Oh, yes.
All right.
Yes.
So that's an interesting part of farm life.
Very much. Yes. Live births, deaths.
Yeah.
My kids have seen all aspects of life and death, which I think is good in the end. We try to talk about it, and they're pretty
It's a shock to the system
now.
at first,
Yeah. I do get nervous if they have new friends sleep over or come over, and they're like, "Do you want to go dig for cow bones?" I'm like, oh, God.
That's great.
I try to warn the parents,
Yeah.
we're very respectful, but it is farm, so these things happen,
Yeah.
and I don't want to traumatize anyone.
It's facts of life.
But we've learned a lot, and I'm not down with the cows that much, but my husband and brother-in-law have had to deal with prolapsed uterus and things you never thought you'd deal with,
Yeah.
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 Wow. Vendor relationships must be crucial to your survivability.
Yes.
Are there any vendors that you are particularly grateful for?
Well, Westfield Farm is closed now. They were a goat cheese farm in Hubbardston, and they just retired, and we're actually renting their space to increase production. But they were wonderful to us in terms of helping us figure out suppliers, even recipe issues, questions about the food industry. So they were great. We have a wonderful relationship with our vet and our feed suppliers, and even down to our cheese culture companies. I'm in the Mass Cheese Guild. And again, another thing you never thought you'd be a part of.
Yeah.
But it's a network of local cheesemakers, and we can just send an email or text and say, hey, have you ever run into this issue? Mm-hmm. Have you ever needed to order a different set of cultures or things like that? So yes, vendor relationships are huge.
Yeah. It's not about what you know; it's about who you know.
It really is. Yeah. I have
And
found that.
it is also about learning what your people know.
Yes.
Or at least being able to depend on calling them
Right.
when necessary.
And not being afraid to ask questions.
Right.
Like sounding like you don't know what you're talking about. And now I just say, I don't know what I'm talking about. Can you help me?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, no, that's important. That's a good skill.
Yeah.
Not everybody does that.
Humbling.
Conversely, what's the reciprocity looking like? Are you also then taking the torch of passing on that knowledge to others?
I have found myself in that role more recently, which I really like. With there's a newer farm. A couple bought an existing cheese company in Massachusetts, and we helped them a lot. They came and visited a few times and explained the process and things that we had to figure out.
Yep.
So that feels really gratifying.
Do you work at all with local agricultural schools? Like, for example, Monty Tech, do they have an agricultural program that you might tie into, or is there something like that?
They do have a newer veterinary program. We haven't worked with them, but we're not opposed to it. I mean, Monty Tech's wonderful. And I just joined this board at Oakmont, which is all four of us owners. We went there in high school, and they're starting an employer advisory board. And so trying to establish paths for students who may not want to go to college, or college might not be the right option. So local businesses who can help bring them in or do internships. So really looking forward to being active on that.
Mentorship programs. Yeah. That's really important.
Yes.
Really important. Main Street America still needs to survive regardless of what we do with industry. And you're definitely proof of that. It sounds to me like you guys have a very vibrant, wonderful business model.
Thank you.
That it really exudes the values that you clearly embody.
Thank you.
So I'm really happy that you're here.
Thank you.
Really happy that
I'm
you're
honored
here.
to be here.
Yeah.
Kristen, thanks for having her on.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for having a wonderful cousin who makes cheese.
How'd you two meet?
So like I said, I've shopped there and I've been there for years.
Sure.
And I never really knew the connection that she was originally from Westminster, which I am. She went to high school with Josh, so that was a connection.
Okay.
But also, my cousin has worked there for quite a while now.
A few years now.
And just raves about it.
What's her position there?
Head cheesemaker.
Okay.
She's the head.
So she's the
She
head.
had
Okay.
no experience with cheese when she started. She had worked at farms.
Really?
And she's really good.
Amazing.
She's really good at what she does.
Yeah. So, I mean, she just raved about her. And, the story is, we're all about telling stories here. And, like people that are passionate. And you guys are an awesome example of that. You're the type of people that we want here telling your story.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
It means a lot.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
I'm very happy that you came.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Hey, I got to get out of wearing a hairnet. This is a great day.
Got to dress up a bit.
I dropped my son off at preschool, and all the parents were like, "Where are you going?" I'm like, I know. I'm usually
fancy.
Right?
I usually smell like cheddar.
Yeah, usually in overalls or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Muck boots.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's part of farm life where that follows you throughout your house.
Oh yeah.
Right. I mean, that's not.
my gosh.
That's something that is so underreported. I'm not going to say underrated because that is definitely not the case. But Keith, myself, and a few other of our photographers, we've done equestrian properties or farm properties, right, for real estate. And it's funny. There's two types. There's the one that all of the value is in the farm with house.
Yep.
And then the other one is all of the value is in the house with the farm. right? There's not usually a good blend of the two where you have a well-maintained home and a well-maintained farm.
Yeah.
Whether it be just stables or whatever it is, right? So you usually have a high-end equestrian center with kind of a blip on the radar of a home or vice versa. Every once in a while you come across like the golden nugget that has both.
Yes.
But those are the $1 million+, $2 million+ properties, right?
Right.
So at that point, it's a different
Right.
echelon entirely.
Right.
But unfortunately, when we go photograph these equestrian homes, you don't have to leave your shoes at the door, unfortunately,
Right. I still try to keep that rule at my house, but
No, of course.
it's
But
hard.
more to the point is the farm lives inside the house too.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And you can't get away from that.
It is a lifestyle.
It is a lifestyle.
You can't really escape it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Welcome to our existence.
Yeah.
There's no apologies.
Right. It might not smell amazing, but you're welcome anytime.
Right. We have a warm home, albeit
Yes.
unkept.
Yes, exactly.
Exactly. So, on this podcast, we do a draw a card and answer the question that's on
Ooh.
it. Primarily, these are like New Year's centric cards I've found over
Okay.
time, where there's a lot of what value this year do you want to carry into next or whatever. Answer it to the best of your abilities. You get to have 2 rejections. So if you don't like the first 2 cards, whatever, we just can move on to the next.
Okay.
So
I'm ready.
open it up and grab one.
Love this. What is your biggest wish for the upcoming year?
There you go.
All right, I can take
she's
that.
she's
Okay.
taking
I'm
it.
going to keep it. I like it.
One and done.
My biggest wish for the upcoming year is being okay with delayed gratification.
Ooh.
Ooh, that's a good
That's
one.
a big one.
That is
Yes.
a good one.
Yes.
Explain.
Delayed gratification is ever present in life, but I have seen it a lot more since buying a business. For example, I want that nice house, but we need to sell more cheese. We need to make more cheese. We need to pay our employees a good living before we do that. Things like that. And even just, I want more time. I want to be able to go to the gym or go grocery shopping at this time. You're not going to get there until you reach certain points in your business so that it's well functioning. And I want to be more okay with that because it's all part of the process and it's part of, that is in itself the adventure. So accepting that is coming in the upcoming year.
What is the primary obstruction to you embodying that wish? Like, what is the biggest thing keeping you from fully enacting that?
Just forgetting to live in the moment. Thinking too far outside of I want, I need, but the thing that's happening in the moment is the thing I'm going to be thinking about 20 years from now that I'll miss. So
Absolutely.
if I remind myself of that, then I'm closer to this goal, but that is definitely what's obstructing me.
Okay. All right. That's wonderful.
Yeah, that's a really good answer.
That's
Thank
you. Beautiful. I'm so glad
Thank
you got
you.
that card.
I know. Wow. That was meant to be.
Yeah, that's good. Anything else that you want to volunteer before we wrap up?
Gosh.
I had one more question.
No.
Oh,
go
yes,
ahead.
please.
I wanted to know what your favorite product is of all of them.
Not ice cream, because we're not there yet.
That will be, though.
No, what's
Next
your
time you see
favorite-
me, I will be 1,000 pounds.
I have to ask, what is your favorite profile of ice cream? Are you more of a sweets or a fruit, or what is it?
Maine Black Bear,
Okay.
#1.
Yep. All right.
It's
You and I can get along.
right.
We're
Well, yeah,
good.
right.
We're good.
And I
We're
did
good.
not just say that because you're from Maine.
It's not even that. Like
No, we can see the passion behind it.
a black
yeah.
raspberry, a black raspberry
Right?
of any sort,
And then it has the little chocolate. Oh,
but
forget
it has to be the right amount of chocolate.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
If it's too much,
If it's
like
too much, it's
I'm
overwhelming.
eating a chocolate ice cream with raspberry flavoring.
Right.
I don't have
Yes.
opinions.
And
What am I
sprinkles.
talking about?
Oh, don't get me started on sprinkles.
Don't even start.
My husband gets embarrassed. I'm like, I will buy a separate cup. Just give me the sprinkles.
Oh,
I
okay.
love them.
Okay.
Yes.
all right,
Yep.
Give
all right.
them all to me.
Yes.
Back to your question.
Yes,
My apologies.
So existing product line, the dill Havarti is probably my overall favorite cheese that we make, and the butter. I don't make it. I can't take credit for it, but I love our butter. We culture it, so it's got good probiotics and really rich flavor. We use flaky sea salt, so it's just got this nice depth. Yeah, you can see them kind of shining when you slice into it.
We really need to do some photos and video there, I think.
Field
we
trip.
really
Yes.
need to. Keith is like,
Come anytime. I just got into making bread too. So if you come, I'll make fresh bread and we can have it with the butter.
Oh, that's sealed the deal.
We have a good demographic
sealed.
of foodies in this company.
My people.
We appreciate the craftsmanship of good food.
Yeah.
And it sounds to me like you embody that.
Oh, we love food.
And
so
we love
much.
photographing like processes of things.
And that's what we need help
Yeah.
with.
For sure.
Because
For sure.
my cracked iPhone is not cutting it.
That's okay. You use the tools that you have at your
Right.
disposal, right? And if the capital doesn't allow you to do more, then you just do with what you're capable of doing.
Yeah,
That's it.
absolutely.
You know, and that's the delayed gratification, right? So you could overextend yourself, but then to what end, right?
Right.
You don't want that.
Right.
So
But honestly,
calculated
like,
risks.
Yes.
Yeah, honestly, I think that authenticity is what makes you special and what drew me towards you, because it's like the TikTok videos that are just people being real are what I want to see and what most people want to see.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily.
Most adults want to see.
Yeah, there's like, there's a fine line. Like professional video and professional content obviously
Sure.
is key.
Yes.
But also that every day just showing your workers being happy is
Right.
where
Right.
it's at.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's a both. It's a both. You can have your polished marketing all day, every day, but the truth of the matter is, does it help you connect with your audience in the way that they need to be connected with you?
Right.
Probably not. It gives you a different audience. Right?
Yeah.
But if you have the both and, where you have that, the day in the life of,
Right.
in conjunction with that polished marketing, now you own the corporate end, the wholesale end, as well as the retail end.
Yes.
'Cause
Yeah,
where
was
your
just
retail
thinking
customers
fantastic
are.
point.
I was just thinking
Yep.
that too.
Right.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Yep.
On that note, she asked a good question about your favorite product. What is the driest cheese that you make? Because I love dry cheese.
So
gonna
we
try this.
have an aged Gouda, an excellent aged Gouda.
Yeah.
Our batch right now that we're cutting is just over 2 years old.
Oh, fantastic.
And we do also have this cool product called Rat Trap Cheddar.
Okay.
We have never...
Don't like the name, but okay,
Oh,
let's
it's
continue.
a terrible name.
Horrible.
Inherited from the Smiths, and now it has a cult following.
Okay.
It's a 7-year-old cheddar. So it is crystallized, it's pungent, and we sold out of the whole batch. It's never happened before.
Pre-sale or?
Just mostly folks coming in the store.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So we're aging more, but it takes 7 years. So I would go with the aged Gouda now while you're waiting for the rat.
I wonder if
No,
the
it doesn't
aged
want to
Gouda-
open. What
Yeah,
the
I
heck?
know.
Oh, yeah, it's sealed
I bought this
There we go.
morning in preparation for this, but thank you so much for bringing
Oh,
it.
of course.
But we're having a team outing or meeting this afternoon, so we'll just serve everyone.
Yes.
And then they can all try it. But
good.
we got port wine and
Yep.
Gouda and red pepper.
Oh, nice. Did
Yeah.
you go to Vincent's?
I did go to Vincent's,
Awesome.
and I'm friendly with the owners, because we just had Tamaya in here. We're all connected in
yes,
Westminster.
yes.
And he's like, "So what's going on today?" And just having a nice conversation. I was like, "Oh, we're having a podcast with Smith's Country Cheese," and I said, "I'm sure she's going to bring some, but we're going to get some more."
That is so nice
yeah,
of you.
Yeah. So then I was like, "If you guys ever want to be on the podcast, you're welcome too."
They do a great job.
Yeah. No, I've lived in town my entire life, and they're
Yeah.
awesome people.
That's a tough business.
It is a tough
You
business.
gotta be very
but
organized.
yeah, and they keep it, they keep it really hometownish.
Yeah,
and that's what I
love
love about
that.
your business too. And that's
There's so much that the general public, I think, takes for granted because we just drive by it, and then when
Yeah.
we stop in, we opt into it, right?
Yep.
And generally speaking, we are completely unaware of the inner workings and the rules and regulations and the laws and all this other stuff
Oh my
that
gosh,
affects
yes.
our local businesses. And then when they close up shop because we haven't been stopping in and supporting them, we're like, whoa, that's so bad to see them go. So it's really
Yes.
important to really call to action our neighbors and our community to really invest themselves into local shops as much as
Oh,
possible.
yeah. I've learned that more and more.
It's disastrous what it can do to a town when large corporations leave. Like take a look at Simplex Grinnell.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And the truth of the matter is it's equally disastrous when 10 or 12 or 20 mom and pop shops just dry up.
Yeah.
But that happens through attrition over time, and nobody, it's not that nobody notices, but they notice incrementally, and it's not like a big hole is missing now all of a sudden.
Right.
It's just you wake up after 20 years and you find yourself like what Orange is doing as far as like their downtown being as vacant as it is, right? And that's a real hard hit to the community, and it's important that we support our community as much as possible.
Yes.
There's my little soapbox right there.
no, but
So-
that's
I agree.
basically why we created this podcast, is because we really honestly truly feel there's so many people out there that have these awesome stories. Like I would have never known the full story. You know, Alyssa's like, yeah, this is great. You know, like, and I've been there and it's cute and whatever, but I never knew that you just bought it out of nowhere. I mean, that's a story. That is a story.
That's a plunge.
You know? That
is a plunge.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's just great to like get everyone to know that. Like nobody knows that just from your logo and your, you know, nobody knows the true stories, and that's
peel back the curtain.
Yeah,
let the light in.
I would love that you're doing this. It's so helpful.
Yeah, if you know of any other local businesses that would benefit for this kind, this
if
kind
any of your vendors or you know,
we are all ears.
Okay.
All ears.
Yeah,
very cool.
We love this stuff. So absolutely
awesome.
Real people,
right?
Real stories, real businesses,
right?
You know, looking for people that just want to be genuine and just kind of put their heart on their sleeve for a little while.
Yeah, just for people.
I mean, we're all just trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
I still remember when we first bought the business, I went to a family party and my aunt's friend is very successful, money galore, doing great. And he goes, so do you have a lot of CapEx in the business? And I was like, what is CapEx? No idea.
Yeah, I have no idea.
And I was like, yeah, a little bit.
Of course.
You know, little things are like an EIN number. I didn't know what that was. I'm like, what does that mean? Google, you know, just things you would never think, and they become part of your daily routine. But just being unafraid to ask, like, hey, I'm going to sound like an idiot, but I don't know what that means.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's just human, I guess.
Be humble.
Yeah.
And that's how we
very
are
humbling
around here. Yeah. We don't know, but we're going to find out.
Right.
We're going to do everything we can to find out.
Yep.
We're not going to, you know, lie and say, oh yeah, we know what that is. You know, like, it's like, that's not real.
Right.
That's not real.
Yep.
Yes, Jeremy.
No, it's not a you thing.
Everything's very well sealed.
It's not a you thing. I'm
They're
impressed.
very fresh.
Very fresh.
They are very fresh.
And tamper evident.
And Kristen,
again, those food safety rules, man.
For sure.
I thought it would be nice to just try it out.
You just said a good tattoo right there. We're all just trying to figure it out.
Honestly.
Boy, is that a tattoo. That is just waiting to happen.
I'm all
right
about tattoos lately. My mom is horrified. She's like, you're almost 40.
Do you have a story about the two there?
This is just on a whim. My husband and I went to a wedding in Chicago, and I booked us tattoo appointments, and we just got them. So there's really no meaning there.
Okay. All right.
This is the Adirondacks is like my dream, your Maine, you know. Smooth
That's
Sailing
gorgeous.
is a country song that just encompasses how we feel about buying the farm, to be honest. So there we are.
All right. What's what you have?
This is with my best friend. So the ups and downs of friendship.
Oh,
very cliche.
Love it.
So cliche.
No, I like it though.
Honestly,
But
I wouldn't have derived that from the tattoo. But
well, then I guess
it's not cliche at all to an outside observer.
Okay.
You know?
We'll take that.
Try that.
Yeah.
That's
I'm
good.
just having fun with it.
All right. Fantastic. Allie, thank you so much for being here.
Yes,
Thank you
thank you,
both.
thank
The
you.
pleasure is mine. I really appreciate you
been
having
wonderful.
me.